All right, up next, we will continue our deep dive into the world of smart venues, the spaces where innovation shapes experience. From their design and construction to the fan journey and consumption, smart venues involve a whole ecosystem of players. You've got the athletes, the operators, teams, sponsors, and of course, the fans themselves. This session, The Venue Revolution, from designer to consumer, will explore how technology, sustainability, and creativity are transforming how we experience sport. From security and crowd flow to live analytics, fan engagement, and on-site experiences. To guide us through this conversation, we have a very special moderator that we'd like to invite out. Her name is Peggy Ting, Regional Lead for the APAC region at the Global Sports Innovation Center, powered by Microsoft. Peggy brings more than a decade of experience across both the public and private sectors, with experience in sports management, events, and technology-driven transformation. She was also part of the pioneering team that established a Singapore sports school, later driving key initiatives with the Singapore Sports, and now leads strategy and partnerships across Asia Pacific for the Global Sports Innovation Center, which connects a global ecosystem of over 1,500 sports. Please join me in welcoming Peggy Ting.
Thank you. Testing. My speakers on stage, please. Yeah. 안녕하세요. Bonjour. Guten Morgen. Hola. Buenos nachos. Nadigan. For my Sinhalese friends, ohai gozaimasu, ni hao. This is all I know for today. Welcome. We're going to co-create this experience together. It's not about from us to you, but us together. So the first thing I want you to do is, please move to the front. If you can, please take a seat up to the front. Okay? Oh my God, you're not very obedient guys today. All right, please move to the front if you can. Awesome. Okay. First and foremost, they tell me this is the last panel, but I told them this is going to be the best panel. I'll give you the best panel in the whole conference series and the most fun panel. So the first thing I want to ask, how many of you are representatives from cities, government councils who are going to host or have aspirations to host a major games event in the next 3 to 5 years? Raise your hand. You're from city councils, mayors who are going to host or have aspirations to host. Awesome. How many of you are from sports businesses who run sports events at venues? You're a sports entity, you're a sports business. I have 1, 2, 3 gentlemen out there. Awesome. And how many of you are from the research or universities into sports tech? Any professors here looking very smart, intellectual? There you go, the gentlemen, 3, 4 of you, excellent. And lastly, how many of you are startups or tech companies, founders? I'm the only one. Oh, that's it, let's go. Right, Lucy is there with Amy, so thank you. We have a diverse audience, but obviously majority are from city councils and obviously from sport organizations. Look at events, right? So I'm Peggy, I'm from GSIC. Don't ask me why is it so long, Global Sports Innovation Center. I won't test you for lunch, but that's where I am. We are powered by Microsoft, and our mission is to really create a better world through sports and technology, through innovations. That's our mission. And we look across at 10 innovation verticals. 10. Fan engagement, sponsorship, smart venues. And obviously for today's topic, we're going to talk about smart venues. And for GSIC, we published a digital transformation report, end 2024. And this report, we actually surveyed more than 200 C-suite executives from the sports industry. We asked them questions about digital transformation. And I think there are 3 things I want to share with you about smart venues. First of all, the definition of a smart venue is not just about bricks and mortar and steel. Smart venues are entertainment hubs. Smart venues are entertainment hubs. 3 key points. Number 1, smart venues are fan-centric. Essentially about looking at fan engagement, fan experience. 2, smart venues use big data, leveraging fan insights and translate them into revenue for you, your stadiums, and your companies. 3, smart venues leverage digital platforms to create their personalized or even hyper-personalized experience for your fans. So remember, fan-centric, they use big data and their digital platforms. And I'm pleasure to welcome on board today all my wonderful speakers and to Tanya, who is going to dial in. Can we have Tanya on the screen, please? So Tanya is dialing in from the Big Apple, New York. Let's give her a little bit of time to do that. Okay. Yep, she's coming in. Okay. All right. Hi, Tanya.
Hello, hi everyone.
Could all of you please give a Miss Universe wave and say hi to Tanya, please? Awesome. That's the welcome we have from Seoul. Tanya, do you see the love and feel the love from the audience?
I see the back of everyone's head and it's beautiful.
I love that. I love that. Tanya, privileged to have you on the panel. And you come from a rich diversity of experience across marketing, commercial, client management, consultancy, and now you are the EVP of Globant, a global tech company, as the head of hospitality, sport, and entertainment. You have gone deep into the world of fan experience, fan engagement, and I know you're passionate about that and about building fandom for your global brands everywhere. Tanya, could you, and we know that, the fan experience now is really all about sports and entertainment and fashion and music and pop culture coming all together into one integrated lifestyle experience. Could you share with us what really defines a good fan experience?
Absolutely. First, I hope everyone hears me okay. And I do apologize for not being there in person. I would have loved to see all the sessions, but I've been following you on live streaming. So I got to see a little bit of what everyone else was speaking about, and it's been remarkable so far. So hopefully, as Peggy said, this is just as inspiring and you do take some fun nuggets away. So when we think about fanship, I think the nice thing is, just like you just mentioned, Peggy, we're all fans. Everyone in this room are fans of something in some way, whether it's a sports team, an athlete, a celebrity, a musician, a book, a movie, an experience, which makes it really nice because that means we have that in common. And it also means in some way we're all experts of what fan experience means. And that's really, I think, what the core of when we think about fan experience, that's what it's about. We want an experience that's enjoyable, it's engaging, it's personalized, it's accessible, it's easy, it's frictionless, it's seamless. Anything that doesn't give us that type of experience or doesn't allow us to have some sort of emotional connection with the experience doesn't feel as good. So think about the experiences you've had and the ones that you think back on today and remember and say, wow, that was magical. That was memorable. That did something for me, my family, my friends, whomever you were experiencing it with, and you want more of it. That's what I think about when I think about a really good fan experience. It's those magical moments. And honestly, we're all children at heart. And as you can imagine, or if you remember, when we see something inspiring or surprising or unexpected or just easy, it's truly magical for us and we want more of it. And I think we've all experienced that in some way. So in many ways, the experiences that we have tried to help create, and you'll see some of it, I believe, in a video, is a compilation of all of those things. And we did tours across the world, visited and experienced different countries, stadiums, teams, experiences, what fans from around the world really wanted, and tried to bring it back to some of our clients here. The most prominent one is the one we're going to show in a few minutes, which is what we built at the Intuit Dome, which is located in Los Angeles, California. And it was built primarily for fans, by fans, because we really took the feedback of what fans wanted and needed. And the intent was to create the space that allowed fans to do what they do best, be fans, and experience something that was magical for them and created a moment where they were just joyous and they felt something. And that's really what fanship is about.
Love that, and I can hear your passion right through and through. So 3 or 5 key points is about emotional connection. It's about building for the fans, by the fans. It's about personalization, frictionless, and personalized. And I think let's now have the video to show what it really feels to have the ultimate fan experience at one of the top venues in the world. Can we have the video, please? Thank you.
At the At the heart of the LA Clippers Intuit Dome is a groundbreaking tech ecosystem by Globant, designed to revolutionize the fan experience.
So we work in a way that technology is invisible. You can forget your phone at home, go enter the arena seamlessly, just walk in there, go grab a hot dog, and spend as much time with your friends and with your team as possible.
Globant's solution integrates 4 pillars: the fan app, the staff app, IoT devices, and an admin tool, working together for a seamless journey.
Well, AI is actually used for one of the main interactions with the user, which is on the main entrance. When they get to the stadium, they are recognized through face recognition, and that enables to know who the fan is and if the fan has a valid ticket for the day. Basically, the experience that they are getting is completely different to anything else that was done in any other stadium, and we hope this is going to be setting the bar for a new stadium.
Awesome. And I think it's clear that Globant is building state-of-the-art stadiums. And I think not all cities have smart stadiums, and probably not all stadiums are that smart. And I see in that video, we talk about certain key points, Tanya. The frictionless experience starts from the very time you step into the stadium, facial recognition, and you have a fan app that integrates with your staff app, with the IoT devices that you're using all around the stadium, and therefore you have that seamless experience. Tanya, could you talk through a bit more about how these technologies actually drive the development of the state-of-the-art stadiums? Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because the stadium has been coined the most technologically advanced venue, but that's just today. And actually, the hope is that in a few months, in a year or so, that's not the case anymore, that there are more advancements happening because it serves the full fan experience. And it's very much the intent is to continue to grow and establish and evolve that. And to be honest, the technologies that are used even in this space standalone are not new. It's not something you've never seen before. We've done biometrics. Many of you used it at the airport flying into Korea. In other places like retail, we see the cashless exits. So it's not that they're new in their individual rights, but the magic is actually in bringing them together. And a big part about behind the technology is how do you ensure it's seamless, it's frictionless, and it works together. So, one thing I know we always try to say is keep the fan as the North Star. And a lot of people keep saying the fan is king, the fan is king. Make sure that we have that North Star. That's true. However, every decision that needs to be made to make that experience better is actually about data. So for me, data is queen. The queen knows how to make that experience work. The data behind it is what makes it connect. It's how we have a cohesive and integrative strategy that allows for that experience. And as you mentioned, it's from the pre-event. I'm thinking about going to a game or a concert or an experience, all the way through to preparing for the event, during the event, in the stadium or the space, or sometimes even at home, having some sort of engagement with those that are in the event. And post-event, how do we continue that engagement and build that loyalty after the event is done is actually quite important. So some of the things that you saw on that video around access control, the fan app and the fan experience, biometrics, smart parking, suite management, loyalty, frictionless commerce in the retail space, as well as in food and beverage, all of that ties into how we create this experience and using technology to make sure that that experience comes to life. So one example of this is we have just evolved this technology because the new season starts this week. In fact, Friday's the first home game. And for that, we are now doing logo detection. So what it means is if I, as a fan, enter the stadium and I am wearing an LA Clippers jersey, hat, something on myself, it'll recognize that I'm wearing it. And if I've already checked in and my ticket has been scanned, let's call it, because it's all done virtually without any mobile device. If you don't want to have one, you can have it if you'd prefer. Then it allows it to know who I am as a fan. And actually then it feeds into my loyalty program. So I will get credits and rewards because I showed up and I'm a true fan. I'll get credits towards maybe a purchase in the store. There are other ways where we can build that fan loyalty. And a lot of that, again, feeds right off of that data layer, that ability to think about how data allows us as the quote unquote operators or the team owners or the city or the space owners to be able to have a one-to-one relationship with every single fan, which is not an easy thing to do. And I'll give you some fun facts. When we first embarked on this, the mission from the leadership was, we want every single person who enters this space to have an account. If they don't have an account, they cannot enter. And what that means is, traditionally, I would buy a ticket for all of the panelists that are sitting there today. And when I show up and they show up with me, I scan my phone and we scan each one in individually. The only person they know is me, Tanya, because I'm the one who bought the tickets and I have the tickets in my hand. In this experience, I need to transfer those tickets to each one of my esteemed colleagues on the panel, and they need to create an account in order to be able to enter the space. We thought that this was going to cause so much friction and that people were not going to buy into it. And we were shocked by the adoption rate. In fact, I think by the time we had gone a few games into the season, 50% of the events, people had already done all their account work pre-event. And by the end of the game, 75% of people who went into that stadium ended up creating their accounts with much more detail, because once you provide more detail, you can do a lot more. Once you put in your payment information, once you opt into biometrics, you actually are able to do a lot more within the space. And again, it's all about that experience for the fan. How do we make it a benefit for them? They're not going to opt to give us information and data if they don't see where the true value of that information and data is. And I think that's quite magical in the experience that you can create. And from a technology perspective, as was mentioned, all of the technologies, it would behoove me not to mention that we obviously were leveraging, and who isn't these days, how we're leveraging data and AI, IoT, computer vision. We have RFID and sensors in a lot of the spaces, especially in merchandise. That's why you can just pick up a hat and walk right out and it'll auto charge you in your account. Edge processing for biometrics. It's completely a containerized solution. So we are completely on the cloud, which, some people might get a little nervous about, but they were really, really keen on making sure that that's the direction we went in and we did it right. So I think all of those things coming together, that's what made it magical.
So actually, the technologies are not like, rocket science. They're actually common technologies we see every day. Biometric access, cashless payments, but it's about how do you put them into one integrated package so that it's frictionless for the fan. The other thing I'm very interested to talk about is fan engagement is not just about during the game per se. It's about pre-event, during the event, post-event, and perhaps they call 365 in the year. So Tanya, could you talk about, does Globant kind of like help the client to do that 365 engagement in the year? And I know you talk about, I love the part that you talk about, if I wear a jersey or a cap, does it have to be genuine to be and not a fake one, to be seen as I'm a real fan? That's a funny question, yeah. So 2 questions for you.
That's a great question. Today it detects the logo, so I think soon we'll have to go into true piracy, which we can do with a different product in a different way, but not with live scanning of the visual yet. So it's not there yet to be able to say this is a fake, unless it's an obvious fake. But it's a very good question. I think the intent is you're showing up and you're supporting this team. We're really happy about that. Now, would we prefer that you buy the authentic merchandise? Absolutely. But it does not stop you from being a fan, and it doesn't stop us from wanting to reward you for being a fan.
Tanya,
one of the things, Becky, if I can also mention, as we think about these experiences, and you mentioned at the very start of your opening around all of the experiences in a physical space, the space around us, how we make it smart, and what does smart really mean? Is it because it allows you to tap something or do something when you walk in? Does it allow you to do more? I think these experiences, when it's a physical experience with digital kind of enabling it or technology enabling it, that phygital, as we all hear about, you have to consider that full ecosystem. So in order for us to have the data that we need in order to serve the fan better, to your question of pre, during, and post, we need to have access to that full ecosystem, and that it's not easy. As many of you know, in many of these spaces, there are multiple players and it needs to work together. And I think a lot, or I relate a lot to the idea of an orchestra, because we call that layer the orchestration layer. So I think of it like a symphony. If the conductor is ensuring that all the instruments are playing the right notes at the right time, they are in sync, that they have the sheet music that allows them to have a roadmap of what they're trying to play, and that they have the audience who's really giving them feedback live as they're playing, it allows for us to do more with that experience. And that orchestration layer, the conductor, is necessary to make sure that all of those pieces and parts play together. And that conductor has access to information: who you are, how you play, what notes you're capable of playing, what you're not capable of playing, based on previous information, how better or worse you might be in this particular instance or with this piece of music. I think that's kind of similar. When we think about the audience, the fan, they want to walk away with those magical moments, but they don't really want to know how it's being orchestrated behind the scenes. So if we can create something that is, a bit blind to the eye, but still an experience that creates those moments, those memorable moments, then I think we've really done something special. And to your point of what happens pre and after, we think we do help in that information, because what we're trying to create is one-to-one relationships with that fan. So it has to be very personalized. We want to be able to sell them custom marketing campaigns or custom bundles, because we know you always do this and this together. So we're gonna give this to you as a bundle, and we're gonna sell it to you that way. So those strategies start to change. And as a fan, we want to build your loyalty. And so if we have that information, we'll make sure you get the first discounts on certain merchandise, the real ones, not the fake ones. And or if we know you show up to a game and every single time you have the same beer, how do we feed that information to you? And also, how do we feed that or support that information with vendors, with brands, with sponsors, and some of the others who are part of that ecosystem? So I think that's the core of it, is how do we leverage the data in the best way, but always keep the fan North Star. They're the ones who are really our true North Star, who we're trying to serve and feed, and do that with the data that we collect throughout the experience.
And kudos to the work that Globant has done in the field of brand, serving your clients. And I think the three key points we need to take note. First is always that the fan is king. The fan is a North Star. Whatever you do, keep the fan at the focus. Second, using big data, right? When you are able to collect more data about your participants and your fans, you're able to build a pen picture of your fan. Who is the average fan that comes to your venue? Is it a 22-year-old white boy who loves Taylor Swift, who drives, instead of driving a Tesla, he drives a BYD, or is he someone that loves the environment? When you have those data, you can then obviously be able to monetize those data to your sponsors and partners. So data is king, data is gold. And the third point that Tanya says about integration. These technologies are not rocket science. These are actually quite common day technologies you see at the airport, the restaurants, cashless systems, biometric access, but it's how you work with the players. And I love the idea of orchestration. You are the orchestra. You bring in the merchandise people, the security, the ticketing, and how you bring them all to work together to create that, for how many times we say today, the frictionless, personalized, and seamless experience. Thank you, Tanya. I love your story about how we look at building fans from the lens of sportainment. Now let's move on to our next speaker, right? Tanya, please hold in there. Catherine, you're no stranger to Korea.
No.
You've been in the US Army for 7 years in Korea, and I know you have wonderful memories. But I also know that your Korea right now is limited to kimchi, soju, and perhaps kamsahamnida.
Yes, definitely soju for sure.
Welcome back, Catherine. Welcome back. And I know that so I'm going to go to Catherine and look at smart venues from the lens of technology and smart solutioning. And as the VP of Strategy Insights, and at CrowdIQ, CrowdIQ is actually a crowd intelligence platform. Okay, it collects data about the crowds. CrowdIQ is a cutting-edge data analytics platform that uses computer vision and real-time data analytics to help you understand more about crowd behavior, the fan behavior. And most importantly, CrowdIQ gives you actionable data points for you to understand about the composition, the dynamics, the behavior of the fan, and therefore you're able to make better, well-informed decisions regarding your operations, your fan engagement strategies, and even revenue generation. So, Catherine, could you talk us through a bit more about the technologies behind the CrowdIQ platform?
Yeah, so we've existed for 15 years. We were founded out of Cape Town, South Africa. We started as a company called FanCam, doing mostly a fan engagement asset that we've done everything from the Rugby World Cup to U2 World Tour, Justin Bieber, etc. And we still have FanCam as an asset. We just recently did the National Rugby League Grand Final for any of the Aussies in the room. So we've had FanCam for a long time. About 8 years ago, we were sending photographers everywhere in the world to do this gigapixel photography, and we realized that some of our NFL clients wanted to have multiple photos for their fans, and so we actually installed the cameras in the bowl, which allows us to be able to provide multiple photos across the game. As that started about 6 years ago, they realized that we had a lot of data. We had a lot of images of fans in their seats, and we were able to actually take that data and provide it back to our clients to be able to actually use that data to understand when are fans in their seats, what are they wearing. So we've been doing logo detection for 6 years, and it is assigned back to the seat. So a lot of our venues don't have biometrics, or it's very limited. So being able to tie that back in a third-party manner, and then also age and gender with confidence levels. So it provides ranges, and it helps the teams understand who is coming into the venue. Because as Tanya mentioned, while Intuit Dome is cutting edge, the majority of our venues across the US, where we've really honed in and then we've started to grow globally, do not have biometrics at the gates. Some fans in some states won't allow that. And so where we come in as a third-party tool that lives under the laws of privacy, GDPR, et cetera, to allow our clients to actually understand when are fans getting to their seat, how long are they there, are they distracted or not, so on and so forth. So.
Yeah, and I think you touched on a good point about actually you could monitor the crowd flow, how the fans are moving, the moment they enter the gates to where they sit, and also you can monitor what the fans are doing. Are they always on their phone? Are they watching the game? Are they really watching the game? Or are they talking to their girlfriends and boyfriends and cats and dogs on the phone? And when are they celebrating, right? The most moments. Right. You have a video.
Yeah,
Let's take a look at that,
well,
right?
Before we play the video, one second. So one thing that's kind of unique about us is that we work with about a third of the NFL, roughly 30 to 35 venues across the world. And we are very much a custom solution. So while the equipment, the data delivery can all be the same across our clients, how we actually deliver is really dependent on the market, on the goals of that team. So some are very revenue driven, some are operational efficiency. And my main goal as someone who's been pitched every technology under the sun, as I joined about a little over a year ago, is how do we help you get to the goals that you want? Why you bought our technology, and making sure that we're helping these organizations get to where they want, whether it's a venue or a team or a brand. So about a year and a half ago, we signed our first big international client. Is anyone here from Paris? I think I saw a few people, so I'll pronounce it wrong. I did do 400 days of Duolingo, and I still can't pronounce it correctly, but we work with Paris Saint-Germain, one of the, if not the best football club in the world. And one of their big things...
Debatable.
They did win the Champions League, and lots of other... And Dembele won the Ballon d'Or, et cetera, but we're not here for that. But long story short, we partnered with them, and it was the first project I got when I landed off my job at Salesforce was PSG wants to measure crowd atmosphere, and that's a very intangible thing. I've heard people today talk about atmosphere. Every time you watch a broadcast, especially for soccer or football, you hear about atmosphere, how loud the crowd is, how many fans are standing up, and no one's ever really set a model for it. So one of my big projects last summer was working with the chief strategy officer of PSG to set kind of the in and out of club control atmosphere variables, and essentially build a model that allows us to compare matches from Champions League against in the early stages all the way to the one you'll watch here shortly, to Liga 1 and the different matches that they have. Their domestic competition drives a certain type of crowd, and their Champions League competition drives a different crowd. And so being able to actually benchmark those against each other to help them spend smarter on having a pregame DJ or whatever. So I'm gonna show a quick 30-second clip here. I hope there's no Arsenal fans in the room, but it's from the Arsenal match, and you'll see kind of how we measured this. So,
Arsenal fans, please close your eyes. Let's go.
so this is actually the sound from the venue. We have multiple microphones that measure the sound across. We're really thinking about crowds. Obviously, we can go down to seat level, but our main focus is crowds as an organism. As being a military veteran, I know sports connect the world better than anything else. I've played soccer in places all over the world, so our big focus with this project was essentially helping them measure what does that look like, how locked in the crowd is, what's the sentiment of the crowd. Obviously, they were quite happy about that. Being able to take that impact over time and help them understand what did this look like across the board.
So I think the interesting point is that have we ever thought of measuring how does the crowd feel in a stadium? That's what they've done. They have a technology that allows you to be able to measure after they score a goal or when they score a goal, how high is that sound and emotion? And after that, what does that translate to? And I think they're able to compare for a season, the preseason, during the games, and in the final, what is the difference, right? If I know a bit more about crowd IQ, they're able to be precisely, if you can talk us through that, able to tell you if you are seated in this sector, or so-called this sector of the stadium, certain seats out there is the most passionate fans, they make it there where they are. What kind of jersey do they wear? Do they wear more scarves, baseball caps, or whatever? And actually, what I'm most interested in is attention tracking. What do your fans actually do in a stadium? Are they really watching games? Could you talk us through about this attention tracking, which I'm very, very, interested about? Yeah.
Yeah, so the way our technology works is in most using soccer, football, the global game is probably the easiest way, is we have cameras on both sides of the venue, and we essentially sweep the crowd every 10 to 15 minutes. So like I said, this is everything used from a commercial angle of merchandise, crowd flow, are they in their seats or out of their seats, overlaying that with gate scans to understand the fan journey and how long is it taking, all the way to attention. So the sweeps of the crowd they're kind of near real time. The teams get the data. So we have teams like the Detroit Lions that use our data basically real time to help their concourse congestion. And then all the way to what we call attention tracking. So we have a specialized system that tracks roughly about 1,000 fans. And what it does is essentially takes a photo every second. So a lot of organizations use video. Video clarity is really bad, especially from long distances. I have videos of attention, but it tends to flare people up. So but the idea is basically we can detect poses. So we map out the stadium. We look at where is the screen. So everything from a screen on both sides of the end zone or the behind the goals, all the way to the Dallas Cowboys, where there's a massive screen. I don't know if anyone's seen that, but it's a screen that basically crosses across the entire field. And with that, we map out the pose detection of if someone's looking at the screen, how would they be looking? If they're looking at their phone, how are they looking? And then if they're paying attention to the field. In the US, this data is used specifically for a lot of financial reasons.
Yep.
So we are the only organization that the teams can actually use our data and go to their brands and say, your Kiss Cam or your Dance Cam is performing 400% better than this static promo. We should change this. So obviously the US very commercially driven in terms of sports, but where PSG has come in is our ability to map out what did they want the fans to be doing at different periods. Do they want them looking at their phones before the match because they're getting a special code or something to go buy a beer or something like that? Or do they want them looking at the field? Majority of times they want them looking at the pitch, but helping them really map what are the highest value commercial moments in a match and being able to actually take that back and sell that to partners. So that's kind of how attention works.
Yeah, I love that. Be able to understand how much your fans are paying attention to, what they're paying attention to, and monetizing that data, right? Be able to tell your sponsors, you know what, perhaps just after the game, the goal is scored, the best time is to have advertisements on the jersey because they are most loyal. They'll love to buy the jersey of the guy who scored a goal, Dembele, right? Or for example, like what Catherine says, if you know that the fans are most of the time, or their wives or partners are most of the time not looking at the game, but it's like doing some other websites, and what you know they are, the dog websites or whatever, you could actually approach those companies, right? So don't assume that every fan is watching the game. The reality is no.
Yeah, and I'll just add, a lot of people think
Yeah.
Gen Z is always on their phones,
Yeah.
but I've sat at many sporting events where everyone's on their phones, and it could be everything from watching the stat cast at
Exactly.
the baseball game right in front of you, all the way to shopping on, I think you mentioned Wayfair is one of the examples.
Yeah.
So like, shopping on their phones or ordering food or whatever it might be. So it really is, again, across demographics. That's where we're able to kind of map that and be able to provide that back to the teams.
Awesome. So Crowd IQ gives you fans insights, the crowd flow, how they move, where they move. It also gives you the fan affinity, what they love to wear to the games. Don't assume that everyone's wearing a jersey. Some wear a scarf, some wear a cap, some wear other things. And your most passionate fans, what do they love wearing at certain games? You need to be able to capture those data. And most important, attention tracking. What exactly are your fans doing in the stadium? And like what Catherine says, the Gen Z are on multiple screens all the time. They're watching a game physically. They're talking between the physical and virtual worlds. They're talking to their partners. They're on social, they're on Instagram, they're on TikTok. They're watching 2 other games on a multiple screen because in the States, there are multiple games they're watching. So important to have those data points so that you can then make decisions about your operations, about your sales, your fan marketing strategies, and obviously revenue generation. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Catherine. Now, to Peter, amazing experience, more than 20 years in the design architecture industry. And now you are with Hawk, which is a global design, architecture, and engineering firm. Peter, when you think of a smart venue, what image or metaphor comes to your mind?
So you gave me this homework last week, and this is what I think.
Awesome.
I think the best metaphor is a cup or a bowl, stadium bowl, and water. I think what architects have been doing for 2,000 years was designing a cup or a bowl, and it was really simple. You create a space, go back to the Circus Maximus or the Colosseum in Rome, and you provide space for horses to run around or lions to go after the poor fella in the corner. And that's the Colosseum. And that's what we were doing for 2,000 years. It was very simple. And then once structural advancements, steel, concrete came aboard, it was really about how do you make this, the seats that were once made of stone, how do you make them more advanced, increase capacity, and drive up revenue? Because now you have more people. And then all of a sudden, about 15, 20 years ago,
Yeah.
something called AI started to come around, and we're talking about frictionless contact and pain points and automated MEP climate systems. And that bowl is now so the answer is water.
Water.
I find that the water is now contained in that bowl. And to really have a successful 21st century arena or stadium, you really need to be very clever about how you house or hold that water.
I love that.
Because that keeps it all together. And everything that Tanya and Catherine have talked about, that's what makes up the water from my point of view. It's all that customer service point of view. At HOK, we talk about 2 things when we talk about sports design. It's the entertainment of, or the culture of entertainment.
Exactly.
And
Human psychology.
psychology. And this is where the AI really comes in.
Yep.
Because the idea is from the moment that you leave the house and you get in your car or the tram or the bus, your phone is already clicking and you're getting messages from the team saying, last time you were at the stadium, you bought this jersey.
Yep.
Or go to this gate because this is where we can get 10,000 people in 30 minutes. So everything becomes really, so those pain points go away and it becomes really fluid, hence water. And so that, it has to be seamless, there has to be synergy now which 25, 30 years ago, when we were
Yep.
building stadiums, it was very simple. It was very brick and mortar, people and seats, and the players on the field.
Yep.
Now it's become so high tech, and the poor guy who loses his phone on the way to the stadium, he's not going to know which bathroom he's going to have to go to. But I think what it is that pure fan experience has become so immersive, and so architects. I mean, I don't think we're that simple, but now we have to evolve and push ourselves a little more and delve into human psychology and really look at what that is. I want to start a video to make that point.
So maybe Peter, before you start, so if you get, this is Peter. He's more than just architect, right? He's a thinker, right? So, we'll do that first. We'll do that first.
Okay. I'll talk afterwards.
That's okay. We'll talk later.
So I want to go back to, I really like history, and this is, I think, a valid point. The inspiration for our designer, Bill Johnson, who designs Mercedes-Benz, it's 5 years old now in Atlanta. He thought about the Pantheon in Rome. And if you've been to the Pantheon in Rome, there's an oculus that's open to the sky, and it shoots a beam of light from the sun, and it goes around the inside. And he loved the single focus and drama and beauty of that as a spectacle. And and this is where psychology becomes the thing, more than entertainment. When you go to the stadium, it takes, is Eric in the room? Our roof opens in 8 minutes and 20 seconds. And there's a whole orchestration with music and lights. And it's really like going to a vaudeville play or Broadway play and the curtain going up. He wanted to create that drama of the fight, of the game, from the opening of the stadium and bringing in nature and light and air. And I think that's an incredible thing. And then going beyond that now to high tech, because that was really about dealing with nature and being closer to nature. Because it wasn't really about the view to the city, it was really about bringing light and air in. The diorama was the first diorama that had ever been employed in the world, and it's the largest. And what that's about is also has to do with the genesis of the Oculus, the thing that opens up. Because the sponsorship of Mercedes-Benz was a critical part of that design in terms of, it's all about revenue generation. So your building, that is your billboard. So at every aspect of your building, how do you increase revenue? Every dollar saved in operation is a dollar gained in revenue.
Yep.
And so we're architects, but we're having to think like businessmen. We're having to think like cultural content program managers. We're having to think like IT specialists. And that's what I think has become so fascinating about arena design, stadium design now.
Well, I think if I could just quickly summarize a few key points. So that metaphor is about water in a bowl.
Yeah.
In Chinese, water gives life. Water is auspicious. And I think in Peter's vision, it's about how you hold that water in the right way and make sure that it keeps giving life to whatever you build. Second point is about, obviously, that architecture design is more than just bricks and mortar and steel. It's not about just, I don't know how many miles of the mortar you need. It's about architecture design is a function of human psychology and a culture of entertainment. So how do the fans think? How do people going to your stadiums think? That's human psychology. Understanding the motivations of the fan. And then culture of entertainment, like Tanya's been saying, how do you create that venue to be fan-centric? Venues are not brick and mortar. They are hubs of entertainment. So the entertainment comes when Peter thinks about the design, as in how does it, every brick and mortar is placed in a way that is designed to entertain the fan. And then we move into the third part, which is monetization. When you build your next venue, how do you make sure that you monetize every brick and mortar, and how AI is driving that. So Peter, can I share a bit more about more examples of what kind of technologies are you guys using to make sure that monetization works really well for your clients to drive new revenue growth? Yeah.
So for us, every single seed is a pixel, and each pixel has a value of monetization assigned to it. Obviously, as most of you know, the ones closer to the field has a high value, and the ones furthest from the field have the least value. And here's an interesting story. From a construction point of view, the most expensive seed is the cheapest to build.
Yeah.
And the cheapest seed is the most expensive to build because you're going further, higher, and so on. But in terms of what we do in the studio, we have something called HOK Scrum. That's the second time that word has been used this morning. And it comes from the reference to rugby about collective. And what it does is it's a computer program that uses, you would know better, my colleague here, Rhino and Grasshopper is these sort of modeling tools where we're essentially, if you boil down the essence of stadium design, it's really about the section. So if you have the flat field, then you start to have the angle. Is it a ramped angle or is it a parabola? Because it's about not being able to be able to see over the head of the person in front of you. So then the game is, how do you put in as many heads in a row from top to bottom and giving them as much visibility as possible? And we're able to model that in our computer three-dimensionally live. And then even better than that, based on the angle, the distance, and where they are, we can assign actual value of how much each seat can be charged by the client to make this work. And then to take that one step further, we also have a structural version of that, where based on the intricacies and the development of the structural system, we can live, as we design the bowl and the sections, we calculate the number of tons that we need to build that structure. So we're also, while we're looking at how much can we earn from this design, we can also calculate how much is it going to cost me to build this. So it's a really incredibly dynamic and fluid process.
Yep.
And the clients really love it because it's there. It's fact, it's physics, it's science.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important, right? To look at venues not just as physical structures, but if you are a stadium owner or stadium operator, you must look at venues as able to drive revenue growth and to use science and data, like what Peter has described. The angle, the incline, as she said, the cheapest seat is the hardest to build, right? And they even have algorithms to calculate how much resources will be used to build that section, and therefore how much do you need to do to make back that money. So it's really, there's a science to it. You don't have to tell your owner, I think this is the best way to build the stadium. Yeah. I think this is the best seats. No, you don't think anymore. You have science and data to back you up. And we have to use technology as enablers. Peter, the last part I want to talk about is this idea that when we build a venue, it's not about putting a physical structure up per se, or in silo, or in isolation of the wider ecosystem. When we build a venue, how can we more intentionally and deliberately think about how we could create integrated social and communal spaces to build active, growing communities? So
my first word was entertainment.
Yes.
Second word was psychology.
Yeah.
The third word is civilization.
Okay.
Big word.
Yeah. So we have a new factor in the equation,
Yeah.
right? Psychology.
So we have the C now.
Yeah.
So 30 years ago, effectively, we dropped flying saucers, spaceships all over the world. They were beautiful, self-enclosed stadia, and they really had nothing to do with anything else besides the access to 20,000 cars.
Yep.
So you can get from your car to the stadium, and that was it. It was self-contained. Now, with the whole idea of connectivity virtually, the trends, the stadiums that I had shown on the screen, I had picked them because the first one, which is in New York, which is for New York City FC, Etihad, it's right next to Citi Field, the existing Mets baseball stadium, but it was part of the urban planning of that area of the city. So now 75% of the frontage of that arena has retail commercial space. The idea of doing 10 games a year goes to how do you do business 360 days a year and engage the city. So a project like that, from the genesis of the project, we were on with the city planners, went through the whole review process.
Awesome.
And we're talking to the developers doing the housing and so on. Even Mercedes-Benz and also the baseball stadium, which is in Salt Lake City, both of them have components that go well beyond the boundaries of the stadium. The Salt Lake City one, as part of that development, has a hotel and an office and a retail zone that lines up, and there is a synergy. There has to be a synergy now with it. Same as the Mercedes-Benz.
Yep.
There's a beautiful retail outlet that goes up to the entrance, and one has to exist with the other. That's why when SCON was being shown, that was intriguing to me, because that was sort of the chicken or the egg thing,
Yep.
but in a very different kind of way, in a different setting. But I think you can no longer be disconnected if you want to do a stadium of that size, of that cost, in an environment where everything is connected live
Yep.
through our apps and so on. You have to be physically connected as well.
So to all our city mayors and councillors out there, when you think of building a venue, it's not just about putting a physical structure and where's the parking lot. It's about using that stadium, right, to build communal spaces, social spaces where people can gather, connect, and build deeper relationships. Just like in the olden days, right? You go to a European city, you have the market square, you have the cathedral, you have the town hall. Exactly. So I think we have just refined the equation. The architectural design is a function of human psychology. Understand where your fans are, what motivates them. Also, culture of entertainment. How do you keep your fans entertained and being fan-centric? And lastly, civilization. How do you use that smart venue to build communities, which we are all responsible to make sport, to help people live better through sport? I thought that would be that's a fantastic thing. Now, moving on to our youngest fan in the panel. He wants to be known as Eric. So Eric is a self-professed #1 sports fan in Seoul. And no one will come close to him or even dare to come close to him for their love and passion in sport. And I've been told by the memo. And Eric loves all sports, except perhaps walking 3 miles to hit a small white ball, what we call golf. So Eric, I'm sure in your very young and youthful existence, you've been to hundreds of games at different venues. When you think of a smart venue, what image or metaphor comes to your mind?
Yeah, so before I start, I'm going to give a brief introduction about
Sure,
me
sure,
because
right, yeah.
I'm wearing uniform, so I'm not definitely an Asian player who are here for the sign a team here. I'm Sungmin Kim, and you can call me Eric, and I'm a team leader for the International Education Corporation Center, who's helping foreign students settle down here in Korea and go to universities. And as Peggy told, I'm a big sports fan, and I'm a big fan of, oh, no offense, best football team in history, Chelsea, who won the last Football World Cup. And I'm a big fan of baseball, which is I'm wearing the uniform, the Kia Tigers. Actually, when definitely Tanya was talking about the piracy, Peter asked me if it's authentic. Yeah, it's authentic one that I bought it from the website. So, yeah, I have never thought about the metaphor, but I have 2 words in my mind.
Sure.
But when I was young, I thought maybe the smart stadium would be like some place where people take the vehicles, planes, to go to the stadium and watch the match on air, on the sky.
Wow.
But yeah, it's impossible right now. So to be honest, the realistic 2 terms is like, first one is the convenience.
Convenience?
Because like nowadays, most of the stadiums, we enter the stadium with the QR codes on our cell phones. We order foods, we use facilities and everything with the smartphones on our hands. So I think the convenience is the most important thing about the smart stadiums. And the second thing is the experience.
Okay.
I think because like not just watching the game, we go to the stadium to experience everything, to eat
Exactly.
food, to talk with friends, and maybe some lots of things in the stadium. So I think convenience and experience, those 2 are the biggest term.
And for information, I love that jacket. I love that Kia Tiger jacket. Ladies and gentlemen, it's real. So please, but he's happy to auction off today after the panel. All right. Yeah. So I hear the word convenience and I hear the word experience. In South Korea, everybody loves baseball. Can I show of hands? How many of you love baseball? Oh, not too bad. The rest of you who didn't raise a hand, there's no lunch for you. All right. And how many of you love football? You're not the PSG fan. Wow, look at that. More football, right? More football. I'm a Man U fan, so I'm all right. Any Liverpool fan? I'm sorry. Anyway, so the point is, right, football and baseball are probably the two biggest sports in Korea, right? South Korea, right? So can you share a bit about, what do you love about being a Korean fan? What do you love about the Korean sports culture?
So actually, Korean sports culture is kind of famous with the cheering culture.
Okay.
Because like it has been issued in the states and also other countries. Because for instance, baseball, we have like chants for every player's entrance and every situation, such as four balls or even like pickup attempts. We have like the chance for the pickup attempt. So actually, we like have every single chance for every situation.
Every chant for every single situation.
Every different chance for every single
Oh my goodness.
situation.
Okay, all right.
So they don't let us sit down. They just wanted to stand up and cheer for the whole 9 innings.
Okay.
So and like we talked yesterday, cheerleaders are also really big here in Korea.
Yep.
They're even getting exported to Taiwan League, Japan League. So I think it's pretty big here in Korea. And also talking about cheering, it's not only like limited into the stadium. We have that culture in the fan societies, like the fan applications or websites. So we can talk about the informations together. We can talk about the match today together. And also there's official fan applications from the club. So yeah, this one.
Okay.
So actually,
Nice.
they can show like you can actually make a reservation for the parking spaces before you go to the stadium, and also there's a briefing about the team's rank or how did the match go with using the AI technique. And also on the right side, you can see there's a community where you can actually share your information, share your opinions together. So I think this is the biggest thing here in Korea.
Awesome. So if you have not already known, if you step into a Korean game, a baseball game, they have a chant for every situation. And you're not supposed to sit down. So it's supposed to be very fit and stand throughout the whole game. I mean, it's awesome. I have to go to one Korean game, that's for sure. And obviously, they have a very good fan app. And the fan app is something that, if I were to share with you, the fan app is the single most important tool as done as our research our digital transformation report has reviewed. The fan app is the most singular tool that is most powerful for you to engage your fans. It's very simple. It's not that expensive. But with the fan app, you can collect data. Everything about, of course, with the permission, right? Everything about your fan, and like what Tanya says, when you collect more and more data, what they use, how they spend, what they want to consume, how much time they take to go to the stadium, all these data points will help you make better decisions about your services, your operations, and your monetization strategies. So I love that. It's a cheering part about the Korean sports culture. Now, Eric, I know that as a fan, right, this is the second question. When you go to watch a live game at your favorite stadium, it's no longer watching the game per se, right? It's about a whole integrated lifestyle experience. The merchandising, the F&B, the hospitality, the ticketing, the payment, the crowd control. So now I'm going to bestow upon you a magic wand. I'm not giving you my Mont Blanc pen. I'll give you another one, a smaller pen. Could you pass to Eric? This is a small pen. So a magic wand, which in modern days is called a pen. Now that you have this magic pen, and if you have the power to think about what are the most magical experiences you want to see in the future when you go to the stadium, what is the top 3 list? Besides convenience and besides experience.
Top 3.
Yeah.
So actually that was a homework for me. So the first thing is I think like the fundamental thing, the view from the seats.
The view.
Yeah,
Okay.
the view from the seats. Because actually, like the ones who watched baseball knows that the seats back from the catcher, you can't even see the pitch.
Yep.
If it's a strike or a ball, and you can't see if it's a fastball or a curveball. So as you can see, like this is a view of the seats from the Jamsil Stadium. Well, this is a website called Chariyotte, which is a website that you can check the view from the seats. So as you can see, you can't even see the pitcher. So that means you can see the pitch. So if I had a magic wand, I would like to make small screens for each seat so we can see the pitch So
Okay.
like it's like there's a small screen installed in the Ethias Stadium. It's not at the same purpose, but still, I think that's a really good idea.
It's almost like the referee's lens, right? Now they
Yeah,
have it in
right.
football, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And-
Awesome. Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's your first wish, right? To have a microscopic view
Yeah.
of the game. All right. Next.
And the second thing is experiences, like
Yep.
you talked about.
Yep.
In the experiences, I want to talk about the food and beverages. Now, actually, Korea is trying to make it more convenient. So using like the applications with clubs collaborating together. So actually, you can actually pick up the foods before you just order food, and you just pick it right up. So you don't have to actually leave and stand in line for a long time. And also, there's another app called like Better Hitter or something. So you can actually order a food from your seats, and they
Okay.
deliver it to your seats.
So you want that in-stadium ultimate food experience.
Yeah.
Whatever you want, order to your seat, right?
Yeah, and the delivery
Is there a
fee-
time limit? Is there a time limit?
20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, 20 minutes for the Korean fan. All right, 20 minutes. Okay.
So it'll be like $1.5 a fee for the delivery, and
Okay.
then maybe you can get it delivered by your seat.
Okay.
And so talking about the experience, I think using technologies to make like actually people cheer and be engaged in the game is I think much more important, because I've actually brought this bracelet that I got from the
Yeah.
match, which is like if you click the button here, you get lighted on. But it was actually central control during the match, so it sends you vibrations, so prompt you to stand and cheer for the team, and also change the color like this to make the player or like for the ceremony. So it was just temporary for the retirement ceremony of a player, but still, I think this can
Yeah.
be used in lots of like the regular season matches. So I think if I have a magic one, I think I would use this as a cheering merchandise or goods.
Awesome. And he just left the magic wand on the floor. It's okay. All right. So basically three things, right? Firstly, it's about having a close-up view of the action. It's true. Sometimes you go to the stadium, you can only see certain parts of the game. So having something like at your seat, it's not. I think it's very possible. Second thing is about food experience, right? Being able to have that food whenever you want it, delivered within 20 minutes. And thirdly, experience, the connection, whether it's using lighting, correct?
Yeah, but we're actually lighting and the food, it goes together.
Goes
so I
together.
have a third. Can I make a third wish?
Oh, you sure? Of course.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So my third wish, like Tanya talked about, I
Yeah.
think like the emotions.
Emotions,
Emotions
excellent.
in the sports is pretty important. I think that's the essence of the sports. Imagine if you go to the soccer stadium
Yep.
and you get to be a goalkeeper and maybe block a shoot from an AI kicker of a free kicker, the star player from your team, or maybe you can kick a PK against the star goalkeeper of your team, AI star goalkeeper from a team. Maybe that could be a pretty much impressing experience.
You mean like a post-game engagement activity?
Yeah, like using AI.
Yeah, using AI avatars.
Yeah, so,
exactly. Yeah.
Last week when we were talking at the group chat in the
Yeah.
like WhatsApp,
Yeah.
like I went to the game, the FC Anyang, which is my hometown. I went to the stadium, and there was a little playground where like kids
Yep.
can play together, and
Yep.
also there was a small football ground where like kids can play futsal, and the team who won can get prizes. So that's why there were like lots of families in the stands, and I think that's kind of meaningful because
Yeah.
because I think, like I told you, the emotion is the presence and the essence of the sports. And ironically, I think technology can actually help preserve that issue. So, yeah, that's my third.
Very
third wish.
interesting. Most of us would have thought that if I introduce technology, I take away the human connection. That's not true. Technology can help you transcend boundaries and cultures and languages for that human connection. And I love the point that he said, right? That could we use technology to create more immersive experiences? For example, like what Eric aspires. Even if you're at a game, maybe even before the game, there are technology that allows you to have virtual experiences. You can have training sessions with the avatar players in your own backyard. And these are just avatars up on your screen, or do that. So, or you can have virtual avatars that talk to you during the game. Some of us have that gamification during halftime show. You could have an avatar on your phone talking to you about the game and giving you stats, right? So I think the next generation fan is not just about physical experience. They want to toggle between the physical and virtual worlds. I'm sure your sons, your daughters, your nephew and nieces are telling you that We no longer live in a singular dimensional physical world. I want to be able to toggle seamlessly between the physical and virtual. One last question for you, Eric. So staying on this topic of, and I think Tanya did say hybrid world, where we experience things between physical and virtual. What excites you most? What technologies excite you most?
To be honest, using IoT and VR techniques.
IoT and VR, all right.
So, like you experienced yesterday, it took like 50 minutes from here to go to Sebit Island.
Yeah.
But when you came back, it took only 20 hours, 12 minutes, 20 minutes. It's just because the traffic congestions and
Yeah.
traffic jams. But there are like 3 teams in Seoul, and there are like 9 million people living in Seoul. So, and the match starts on 6:30, and people come to home after work from
Yeah.
6.
Yep.
So like traffic jam and rush hour is pretty like really serious problem here in Korea when you go watch a baseball. So I think maybe like using an app, so IoT or VR techniques, so sending you the information nearby the stadium, maybe humidity and like traffic congestion, or parking spaces and weather. I think it'll be the best for us to watch the sports at
Yeah.
stadium.
Coming back to your point about convenience and experience, right?
Yeah.
Having an app, right? All right. So I'm going to open this question, last question, to everyone on the panel, and obviously we can invite some Q&A. We are now in Venue Revolution 1.0, assuming, right? We have technologies like CrowdIQ. We have Peter and his thinking about designing stadium as a function of human psychology, culture of entertainment, and civilization, building communal spaces. We have the younger sports fan dressed in that wonderful red Kia Tigers thing, and his aspirations of the next generation stadium has to be emotional connection, right? As we think about Revenue Evolution 2.0, I'm not sure what it looks like. It's just a hypothetical question. Open it to the panel, and Tanya, I know you're there, and I know you love to chime in. What do you think are some of the challenges we will face as we move into Venue Revolution 2.0? Anyone?
Yeah, I can start. I think we see a lot of currently we don't really have that many competitors in the space. We see a lot of companies coming into the industry and startups, and there's a very healthy ecosystem of early stage. With AI, it's very easy to code an app and say it works and sell it to one team, or say that this is a wholesale proof. And I think one of the biggest challenges is going to be finding the vendors, finding the operators of stadiums and venues, especially with you all coming from a lot of cities, that aren't just trying to, it's not just a gimmick, right? What is the point of this? Does this vendor have what I need, and does it solve for more than one pain point? I think that's what we've always kind of stayed true to is, competitors will come and go, but what you get from us is what you get. And so I think Venue Revolution 2.0 is really about having the right framework of what problem you're trying to solve. Everyone's going to be trying to sell you something and say this is going to make your event or your city so much better, or your venue so much better. And it's finding out what is your filter for that and making sure that you stay true to that, so you don't end up in 5 years spending a lot of money on things that probably aren't proven and aren't ready to go in the industry. So
I love that. Finding a common vision.
it's a little bit of a downer,
No,
opinion.
I love that.
But I'm from New England. I live in Texas, so I have a little bit of brightness, but I'm definitely
No,
New Englander at heart.
I think that's lovely. Finding a common vision, whoever you want to work with, your operators, your owners, your vendors, and how do you collaborate, right? That's the whole thing. Tanya, so as we move into Venue Revolution 2.0, what do you think are one of the most pressing challenges for all of us today?
I think along the lines of what we've been talking about, for sure there is the data security privacy issue that's going to become more and more relevant. It's relevant today, but I think that it's going to have a lot more pressure as we start to evolve what the expectations are. And I think about, what does the fan want? The fan wants these expectations, they have these expectations, wants these experiences, especially when they start to see them in other places. Then they want their home team, their home league to also step up the game. So there's a fan expectation that we have to meet. What is the benefit to the team, organization, or league? How are we making sure that investment that they are making, whether it's on new technology, new evolution, new stadiums, new builds, how are we making sure that is investment it's worth it? There is a return on that investment. And then I think the last thing is technology, as we know, is changing as we're speaking right now. So everything we talked about might be obsolete by tomorrow morning. So we have to think a little bit about how we ensure, again, the security, privacy, and maintain that, but still continue to evolve so that we're staying on top of what technology is giving us the ability to do, but doing it in a smart way. Those are the things that immediately come to mind.
Awesome. And first one, cybersecurity. All smart venues, basic premise, connectivity, and cybersecurity. If you don't have that, forget about all your data systems, all right? And that's right. Second point, you talk about expectations. How do you manage expectations of your fans? And the next generation fan is increasingly more and more demanding because they can see everything on internet, right? So how do you manage that? And I love the last point.
Look at Eric. Eric wants to watch a game in the sky.
Exactly, right? And I love the last point, right? With technology, I always tell my friends, you do not know who is your next competitor. You do not know who is the next technology. So how do we continue to harness the best of what we know from the current 1.0, at the same time, stay alert to know what's next, right? So be in the space of tech conferences, thought leadership, so that you know what's evolving. And if you have the money to invest in some R&D or universities collaborate, that would be good. Peter, yes?
I have an
Sure.
answer, but I also have a thought.
Yeah.
And it's really for this room. The Global Forum of Olympic Cities,
Yep.
every 4 years. And Tanya, you were just saying how fast technology gets outdated. 4 years in technology terms, that's a lifetime.
That's a lifetime.
So it would be amazing to see the cadence of the Olympic Games every 4 years, and with each single game, see how, and this is really looking at apples to apples comparison, how that development advances from one to the next to the next to the next. That's an easy barometer. That's what I'd like to see. I think that's
It's like putting in a structure, right? Yeah, just like we have Olympic Games every 4 years.
Yeah.
Why don't we have, together with the Olympic Games or whatever you're doing, have a parallel think about technology.
And how does it advance and how
Yeah.
does it improve and
Yeah,
how does it evolve?
and take stock,
Yeah.
right?
And it build on itself. I think that's what would be interesting to see.
Yeah. The youngest on the panel and the
Yeah.
most exciting young boy. Yeah.
So for me, Smart Venue 1.0 was about like convenience, like I told you before. So everything we can do with smartphone, like everything we can do in the stadium. But actually, Smart Venue 2.0 is about like the immersive experiences. So for that, I think not just collecting data, I think connecting them together is a pretty big issue.
Exactly.
So, but I think it has to be quick, and also you have to show the live informations, like I told you before about the traffics and the weathers around the stadiums or the parking spaces about the stadiums, and I think it's pretty much important. And also, I think it has to be invisible but intuitive. So
Invisible but intuitive.
yeah. So I think that's the most important thing and the challenge that you have to deal with the Smart Venue 2.0.
I love that. So technology has to be invisible, not so much in your face, but intuitive because you know what you need to have and do it, right? That's quite a thought-provoking statement from a 17-year-old boy. All right. So this part is absolutely unstructured. We talk about that. I'm going to open to the audience, right? Any questions about no more time? Oh, Sophie said no more time. I'm so sorry. So with that, I want to I hope you enjoy. It's 1 hour and you survived that. Give yourself a round of applause. 1 hour of fantastic conversations. Thank you so much. I want to thank Tanya, all the way from New York. I love your energy and your passion. Catherine, Peter, and of course, Eric. Thank you. Yeah.
One more round of applause for our panelists.
Shall we take a picture together with Tanya?
All right, everybody. Wouldn't it be amazing if we created a stadium with all these things in in one.